One of the most difficult things that there is to gauge for some teams in the NBA is when it's time to make moves off certain pieces of your roster. The Los Angeles Clippers may be facing that decision soon, as the team is sitting right now sixth in the in the Western Conference, despite not getting a single game for Kawhi Leonard. So the question that we're going to ask today is it time for the Los Angeles Clippers to shake some things up, even if that does mean moving off Kawhi Leonard? We're going to talk about it all and more right after this.
Welcome to the number one place for your daily basketball news and analysis, NBA Central.
What's going on, basketball fans? Welcome to another episode of NBA Central, your number one spot for everything basketball related. I'm the host, Haize, but more importantly, you guys can follow the channel at NBA Central Pod on every social media platform we happen to be on. With that said, let's go ahead and get into it for today. I want to start off talking about the Los Angeles Clippers. That's, matter of fact, the only topic that we're going to do today. One of the rare one-topic videos here at NBA Central, and I want to just talk about this, right? The Los Angeles Clippers sit in a place right now where they're actually probably well ahead of where they thought they would be, considering that they lost Paul George. Kawhi Leonard has yet to suit up for this team at all this season, and the Clippers still find themselves right now at sixth in the Western Conference, avoiding the play-in at 14-10, 2 games above 500. Now, in the Western Conference, that can change drastically. One cold week can sit you from being sixth in the Western Conference to all the way to 11th, depending on how bad that week has gone for you. But even with that said, the Clippers have found themselves getting contributions from some players that are really playing really well for them. When you look at it, James Harden, who's gone back to kind of the high-volume version of himself that he's played before, while not always as efficient as you would like to see James Harden be, he's played extremely well for this team, averaging 21 points, leading the team in assists at 8.5 assists, and getting 6.5 rebounds as well for this team. One steal. James Harden is playing well for this team. Norman Powell has been a revelation for this Clippers team, leading the team in scoring at 24 points per game. He's doing that over his 17 games that he's played so far this season. Even though he's missed some time as well, he's been absolutely great for this Clippers team when it all comes down to it. And when you really look at it, the Clippers have some pieces on this roster that have not contributed really at all that the Clippers could look to move if they want to change the direction and the path that the roster's gone. Zubac has played extremely well as a big man also for this team. Derrick Jones Jr. has solidified himself as a starter that can average double-digit points while still being really solid for you defensively. The ultimate role player that he showed and started showing last year in Dallas and a little bit in Chicago before that. Amir Coffey playing pretty well for them as well, averaging 10 points per game. But still, when you look at the Clippers, one of the players that this thing was all supposed to be built around was Kawhi Leonard. And the Clippers have been able to be solid without him playing a single game yet. And while, yes, it's easy to fall in love and say, well, wait till Kawhi comes back and then look at how good we're going to be. And Kawhi Leonard, when he's actually on the basketball court, is still a very impactful player. You know, he puts up numbers. You can't take away from what Kawhi is able to do when he's going to be on the basketball court. But the question that the Clippers have to ask themselves is this: how much can they realistically rely on Kawhi Leonard to be on the basketball court for this team going forth? And do they want to try to strike right now where the iron is hot and while they have some things that could be working for them to try to win some games now? And, you know, I'm not saying that necessarily at this year's trade deadline or anything like that, but I do think the Clippers could be approaching a place where they have to ask themselves is it time to move off of certain players, even if it is as soon at this trade deadline? You look at Kawhi Leonard. He's under contract until the end of the 2026-27 season, where he's going to be getting paid $50 million that year. And, of course, there could be some questions on can they even afford to keep Kawhi Leonard? Or is any team going to want to make a move for Kawhi Leonard? Now, the Los Angeles Clippers own the right to swap picks with the OKC Thunder, right? I think OKC owns the right to swap that pick, if I'm not mistaken. And so the Clippers really are at no benefit to really try to tank or anything right now, and they're not, right? They're going all for it right now. And I know this is going to probably be controversial, and there's probably going to be some of you guys that absolutely kill me in the comment section for this, but I do think that it's time for the Clippers to shake it up. And the first player that they should look to see what they can get back for is Kawhi Leonard. This may seem like something that the Clippers should not be thinking about doing at all, because you know what it is. He's one of the best two-way players in the league when he's able to be on the court. But again, the availability is the most important ability for a lot of these cases. And can you even bet on Kawhi Leonard being able to be on the basketball court when it matters the most? Yes, this team is performing well. This team is staying afloat in the Western Conference, which was already difficult enough. But when you look at it, Kawhi Leonard for the first time since the championship year when he won that title with the Toronto Raptors. Last year played the first game above 60 games since that season, and that was 68 games played. But he still was not able to be on the court when it mattered the most. Kawhi Leonard has not been on the basketball court at all yet. And so I do think when you look at it, right, is that it would kind of pay off for them to take a look at what you're able to get back for Kawhi Leonard. Yes, he has a great skill set. And on paper, he could be a player that you look at and say, you can't replace what he brings. But you look at the massive contract that he has, how inconsistent that he is as far as that, it makes Kawhi Leonard, like if you knew that Kawhi Leonard was going to be on the court, if somebody told you we're going to have Kawhi Leonard a guaranteed 65 games on the court, you'd take that. But there's so much doubt around just his ability to get on the basketball and stay on the basketball court. And so it's up to the Clippers to really weigh what the long-term benefits of keeping Kawhi Leonard are. And that's something that this team is going to have to ask themselves, and a difficult question that they're going to have to face, because they are going to pay a premium when it comes to Kawhi Leonard, and you may be doing that. And again, you never know. If you put Kawhi and make Kawhi Leonard available in trades and are willing to move off of him, you maybe can get something back that can, again, not necessarily replicate what you can get on when Kawhi is on the court, but somebody who's going to be able to be on the court a little bit more. And so I do think that the Clippers, if they look to move off of Kawhi, they should be looking to get young assets, draft capital, and role players that are better suited to help balance out where their roster currently is. And that could be a win in all places for the Los Angeles Clippers. And it could be a very tough decision when it all comes down to it. But I think in moving off of Kawhi, you can build a more sustainable present and future by moving off of Kawhi Leonard. That's my personal opinion. Will it happen? That remains to be seen. But I do think it is something that the Clippers should consider looking into, considering the place that the roster is and where Kawhi Leonard is, and the fact that you are just not getting anything right now from Kawhi Leonard. Another player that I think you should look to see what you can get out on, and this may be another controversial one, is Bones Hyland. Bones Hyland is still a very young player at 24 years old. And while I just said earlier that if you move Kawhi, look to get young assets back, I understand that. But when you look at it, the Clippers right now aren't hugely invested into the development of Bones Hyland. They're just not. He's played 9 games so far for them and averaged 8.4 minutes. And at the end of the day, like, a team could be looking at Bones Hyland as a low-risk, high-reward type player for them. And if that is the case, I think that, hey, if you can get any type of pick back for Bones Hyland, it's more than what you're using for right now. While you're getting contributions from players like Chris Dunn, who was out of the league at one point, Bones Hyland just has not been that player that has really paid off for you in any type of meaningful way. And I, for one, would look to move off of Bones Hyland, personally. And I think that with the youth that he has there, he could be something that teams become interested in, especially if they're a team that, hey, maybe they're in the middle of a rebuild. Maybe they're a team that can afford to give him a bunch of minutes to see what he's going to grow and develop into. I think that you have to explore that personally. And if the Clippers are willing to do that, they can wind up getting something back that, again, maybe not the best asset where you're looking and saying, oh, thank God we got this 2 second-round picks for Bones Hyland. But I do think you can get some things back that can help you as you try to build, again, a more sustainable future for this team. And I think you really should look to explore to do that. And Bones Hyland is a player that, again, I think that, teams could be interested in. Bones Hyland has flashed some things at times. Now, of course, is he going to be able to stay on the court? And I think Bones Hyland has always been one of those players where the prospect of Bones has always been kind of better than what you've actually gotten on the court for him. But I do think it's something that this team should look to explore, especially if they look to go in a different route with their roster. The question is will they? That's the big questions here. And I think that, listen, if the Clippers are willing to go into this different direction with their roster, Bones Hyland is one of the first players you should be looking to move off. Because he clearly doesn't fit in. His style doesn't really fit in with how the Clippers want to play. And that has just left this team to be in a situation where they have this young piece that probably has more value for another team that's kind of can invest more in his future. And you're just not getting much back for that. So, I think that's something that the Clippers should explore. Again, that's my personal opinion. I know not everyone's going to agree with that. You look at what his contract is as well. You have a team option. He's a restricted free agent at the end of this year. So that leans more towards looking to move off of him and letting another team deal with his restricted free agency, in my personal opinion. And then the last player I'm going to talk about here is P.J. Tucker. Now, this is a veteran piece that, other teams may be interested in. Now, P.J. Tucker has always had some issues. He was part of the James Harden trade that's there. And right now, he's more of a burden for them more than anything. And I do think that you can include him in as filler in a trade like he was when the Clippers got him. I think that's something that you can absolutely look to move off of him. I'm not saying that you're going to get a lot back, but I think it clears just some of that bad salary cap off your books. Now, he is an unrestricted free agent at the end of this year, so there's that. But as an expiring $11 million contract, if you are making one of the larger deals, you could get something back to that could be useful for your squad now. And I think that's something that the Clippers should explore as well. But let me know, am I off my rocker? Is it something that the Clippers should not be looking into, especially with the Kawhi Leonard piece? I'd love to hear from you guys. Sound off on that down below. Make sure you guys are following the show at NBA Central Pod. You can send us any feedback, questions, comments, concerns, NBA Central Show at gmail.com. And then lastly, if you want to leave a text message and our voicemail for the mailbag, the number to do so, 773-270-2799. We're the number one spot for everything basketball related. And I'll see you guys the next time I feel like making a video. Pod tomorrow. Peace, y'all.
This has been a presentation of the Breaks Media.